This podcast is sponsored by the Fireman Moving Company. The Fireman Moving Company is the official moving company of WKU Athletics. Not only can they be trusted to move all the coaches in and out of Western, but they can move you anywhere nationwide. The Fireman Moving Company is owned and operated by firemen and is founded by WKU alumni. If you're looking to move sometime soon, give them a call at 270-791-1755 and get yourself a free quote. Welcome to Topper Talk, your number one Western Kentucky athletics podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Moffitt, and I'm joined by co-host Tyler Bailey. Hilltopper Nation, whether it's happening on the hill or on the road, grab those red towels, stand up and cheer, because it's up next on Topper Talk. All right, welcome back, and thank you for downloading and listening to another episode of the Topper Talk podcast. We are the official podcast of the Red Towel Trust Collective, and we're a proud member of the College Huddle podcast community. Feel free to follow us on all of our social media platforms, especially our YouTube. You know, that channel, all the video episodes are always rapidly growing in viewers. We're really happy and excited to see that and continue to bring the coverage to Hilltopper Nation. As always, I've got Tyler here with me, man. We've got a big game to preview, man. You ready to dive into it?
Always, dude. Let's go.
Now, usually we would jump in and get, caught up with our Red Towel wrap up, but with the quick turnaround this week, just played on Thursday. We're, recording the recap here Saturday night and the preview for Sam Houston also Saturday night back to back. So we don't have a Red Towel wrap up brought to you by Trent Bedding Company for this episode, but we will still give Trent Bedding their props and their ad space. So let's get a word from Trent real quick before we jump into the Sam Houston preview.
Don't forget your headboard, pillows, and your sheets. We got everything you need for a good night's sleep. Number one on the same check, best of Bowling Green.
All right. Hey! Twin, full, queen, and king. Mattresses for anything. Come and pick it out and we can bring it to your house. Have you sleeping real good before the weekend's out. Trent Bedding. It's just like a mattress store. Hey.
Gotta love it. Gotta love Trent and Little Trent, man, holding it down. Let's talk about this Sam Houston State game. Obviously, the next game is the most important game. It's the biggest game, and this one is coming on a quick turnaround. We play this Wednesday, October 16th. We're playing in Huntsville, Texas. It is a road game. We're scheduled for a 6 p.m. kickoff. That's going to be on ESPN2. This is our third ever matchup with Sam Houston. We won last year's game 28-23 here in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And then the one time we played at Sam Houston was in 2004. It was a playoff game, and that was a 54-24 loss. So the all-time series is tied 1-1 heading into this third game. Now, the ESPN matchup predictor really likes Sam Houston to win this game. 61.1% chance of winning to only 38.9% chance for WKU. This game is one that's going to have a lot of Conference USA championship game implications. Sam Houston State is currently 5-1 overall. They're 2-0 in Conference USA play. They have wins over New Mexico State and UTEP. They beat UTEP 41-21. That was 2 weeks ago in their last game. So a pretty similar result to what we just saw in our game versus UTEP. Convincing victory. So we enter this game at 4-2 overall. We're also 2-0 in conference. The winner of this game is going to have that inside track of controlling their destiny. We're going to have that tiebreaker if it comes down to that. Once these top four teams, ourselves, Sam Houston, Jacksonville State, Liberty, once we all start playing each other and figuring out what those tiebreakers are going to look like, to determine who plays in and who hosts this championship game. Right now we need to control our own destiny. We need to win this ball game, obviously, if we want to put ourselves in the best possible position and control, win the games, control our destiny, and hopefully make that conference championship game. It feels like it's been a while. As we're recording, it is Saturday night. I haven't seen a Vegas line announced. I know in our interview here, Ben from the March to the podcast, I think he mentioned that there was was it a 1.5 or a 2.5 point spread So a 1.5 point spread that he saw released, which I expected it to be a little bit more, but not much more. I was thinking in the 2.5 to 4.5 range, but 1.5. I mean, that pretty close to a coin flip. I think these teams are really similar in what they do in their offense and their production, and even on the defensive side of the ball. I just think these teams are really evenly matched. I think if you get lost in just looking at what they were last year when they were a 3-9 team, you don't really come into the fact that 5 games that they lost of their 9 were by 7 points or less. So they were just coin flip, possession here, turnover there, away from being a really solid team in their first year at FBS this last year. But they've turned that around this year. They're 5-1 coming into our ball game. They are coming off a bye. They've got 13 days of rest before we do play on Wednesday. So they are going to be prepped and ready and as healthy as can be, getting ready for this game. But Tyler, what are your thoughts on this game against Sam Houston?
I think this is going to be a great test to see where we are because, I mean, Sam Houston is pretty good. I mean, they've been blowing out or at least winning big in the games that they have won. Texas State 1-1. The only game they lost was against UCF, and that wasn't a pretty game at all. But I mean, they kind of have our kryptonite. Their QB. He's a passer. I think he has more, and he's also a rusher. I mean, the dude can do both, kind of like the Liberty's QB. And we saw how that turned out for us last year. Our defense is definitely going to have to come ready to play on this one, and try to shut him down and make other people beat us. But I mean, this is going to be a great game to see where we are, and good Lord willing, we come out with a win, and we kind of set ourselves up for success in the conference championship. But I mean, this I'm going to keep echoing. This is a big one.
Yeah, definitely. You touched on their quarterback, Hunter Watson, has definitely been the guy that has definitely taken their team to the next level. They didn't have him last year. He came from JUCO, won a national championship at that level, moved up, and now at Sam Houston, just being a really solid and productive quarterback. He is dual threat. He can throw the ball. He can run with the ball. Really kind of gives me that Diego Pavia vibe at New Mexico State last year, who really carried them to a solid season last year and a conference championship appearance. So, you have to respect a solid player like that. He's helped turn that team around. 5-1 is nothing to sneeze at. They're a solid team. We're going to dive in a little bit more and learn about them. We got a friend, Ben, from the March to the Pod podcast to join us and break down this Sam Houston team. So let's get to that right now. All right, and we've got Ben from the March to the Pod podcast joining us today. Ben, welcome to the show. Appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, happy to be here and excited to talk about this matchup a little bit. Good Conference USA midweek matchup.
Yeah, it's going to be a game with a lot of implications on the line. I know we're going to talk about that quite a bit in this preview. But before we dive into the game, I guess tell us a little bit about yourself and your fandom as it comes to Sam Houston and what got you into the podcasting space.
Yeah, so I graduated from Sam Houston in 2021, and my senior year was that year we won the national title. Put together social media page called Sports of SHSU. Kind of blew up from there, especially with the title run. So that was kind of where I got into the space, and then eventually got plugged in with our NIL collective that launched at the beginning of 2023. So involved with our collective there, cover all 17 sports, 17 teams at the school. I'm a grad, I'm an alum, graduated in 2021, like I said. So Dave Campbell's Texas football, some of y'all might know them. They're the Bible of Texas football, cover high school and college football in Texas. They were looking to start a podcast with every FBS school in the state. And so I hopped on with one of their staff members, and we do a weekly podcast covering football at Sam Houston, but also talking some other sports as well. So you can find me at Sports of SHSU, March to the Pod, Cat Fund, NIL Collective. Definitely stay plugged in and active with everything going on at Sam Houston.
Yeah, man, I love to see it. And obviously, you're kind of the new addition to Conference USA. And I think, a lot of the conference is probably still unfamiliar with Sam Houston as a whole. And I know at first glance, people looking at our schedule this year from the Western Kentucky perspective, you're going to look at Sam Houston, what they did last year. You see a 3-9 record, and you're like, okay, you're penciling in a W right there beside their name. And, it's kind of easy to do that. Unless you kind of dive a little bit deeper into the schedule and look at the games you all played. And it really jumps out to me that you all lost 5 games by 1 score or less last year. So that 3-9 record easily could have been a, bowl eligible plus in your very first year at FBS with Sam Houston. So I expected a big jump and an improvement this year, but obviously you're 5-1 coming into our game, but what were the fans and the team's expectations coming into this season?
Yeah, I think it was definitely a season with higher expectations than last year. I think last year not a lot of people knew what to expect, but definitely higher expectations. I think everybody was hoping for a bowl game. I kind of set the standard of a window between 5-7 and 7-5. That's kind of where I saw this team, but obviously, they've kind of exceeded my expectations and a lot of people's expectations already. I thought this was a bowl team at like 6-6, 7-5, but maybe not a team that would go 10-2 kind of thing and make the conference title game possibly. So expectations are definitely higher, and I think the staff has done a great job through the transition. Even though last year was tough, I think they had the right pieces in place, have made the right moves in the portal. And in recruiting. And so I think they're finally starting to show this year that we can compete at this level. And the expectations in Huntsville are at an all-time high, and it's been a really fun year so far.
All right, so it's been stated you're currently 5-1 this season with a great win over Texas State, and the only sour mark on your record is that loss to UCF. Every other game you've had has been a big win. But what have you learned about your team so far compared to 2023?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and Coach Keeler's talked about this a lot, he talked about it to me all offseason, I heard it from the staff all offseason, was the depth of this team just far exceeds what we had last year. Last year, I think you had a good starting 11 on both sides, but if you had to get past that, things got a little rocky. And so I think this year, the thing that we've learned is this team can go 2 to 3 deep at almost every position, whether it be quarterback, safety, D-line. You're playing 6 interior D linemen. You're playing 6 or 7 safeties. You've got 7 or 8 wide receivers that you feel confident in. And so I think the biggest thing is you see the depth and the quality depth. And that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned so far from this team is heard a lot about it in the offseason, especially from the staff. And then to see it play out has been really cool. So that's probably been the biggest thing that we've seen so far this year.
Yeah, and I think what you just said rings really true, especially if you look into your stat leaders for this season. If you break it down on game-by-game basis, I think y'all have had 3 or 4 different guys lead you in rushing, in each game this season. You've had 3 or 4 different wide receivers lead you in receiving through your 6 games so far. So I think that it really is a testament to what you just said and what the coach spoke about, that your depth is just much improved this year versus last year. And one of those guys I know that we're about to talk about is probably quarterback Hunter Watson. He definitely seems like that spark plug that has just helped take you all and elevate your offense to the next level. But, obviously talking about him, I'm sure you will, but if there's any other offensive players you want to highlight for your Sam Houston team that, the WKU fans and defense needs to be aware of coming into this game.
Yeah, I think there's a couple. Obviously, you hit on Watson, but we'll start with the receiver position. I think the name that a lot of people have become familiar with this year is Quavez Humphreys. Was going to be your number 1 receiver last year before he broke his foot. Came back and was fully healthy. He leads the team in receiving touchdowns. 6'3", 6'4", 215, 220, can do a little bit of everything. The past couple weeks, we've seen, besides UTEP, 2 or 3 games before that, it was almost a double cover on him the entire time, or a corner with a safety right there. But UTEP went man on him, and he kind of just dominated him. And that's what we saw when Rice did that to him at the beginning of the year too. So he's definitely a matchup problem out there. And then I think at running back, and name to know, that's really come on the last couple of weeks is Jay Ducker. He, as a freshman in 2021, was the MAC Freshman of the Year, was the leading rusher at Memphis in 2022, but didn't really play last year due to injury. Kind of slipped in the portal, fell to us kind of late in the cycle. He's really come on strong, especially with John Gentry, our leading rusher from last year, being banged up the last few weeks. He's kind of taken on that lead role of the lead back in the system. And you mentioned we've had a couple leading rushers. Redshirt freshman DJ McKinney has really come on strong. He's a name to watch out for. Coach Keeler called him a pit bull mixed with a chihuahua. So do with that what you want. He's been a lot of fun to watch, kind of more of a speed back, smaller guy. He's been good. So there's a lot of weapons. And I mean, I didn't even mention Noah Smith or Ife Adei, who were kind of the two guys gaining a lot of preseason hype for the skill players. And so I think Sam Houston's really deep at the skill positions. I think Western Kentucky and Sam Houston are probably the deepest at the skill positions in this conference. And so Hunter Watson has a lot of weapons to work with at both running back and receiver.
Now let's flip it and talk about three defensive players that Western should be looking out for.
Yeah, we'll start on the back end in the secondary. I think the secondary has been the strength of this defense so far. We'll start with Caleb Weaver at safety, 4th year in the program, former walk-on, has just gotten better every year. I think he's our leading tackler right now, has a couple interceptions, but he just always seems to be around the ball. Little undersized, but I mean, he just makes plays every single night, it feels like. So he's a guy in the secondary to look for. I think in the linebacking core, you got to watch for Kavian Gaither, the captain and play caller of the defense. He just went over 200 career tackles last week. One of the best defenders we've really ever had at Sam Houston, was WAC Defensive Player of the Year in 2022 in that transition year when we were in the WAC. So he's been really good this year, captain of the defense. And then on the defensive line, the name to watch, I think, is Chris Murray. Started his career at TCU, spent a year there, and now he's in his 3rd year here and has really come into his own. 6'3", 6'4", 255, just kind of your prototypical edge guy. Has 6 TFLs, 3 or 4 sacks, and is just always in the backfield, it feels like. So I think Weaver in the secondary, Kavian Gaither at linebacker, and then Chris Murray there at the edge position are 3 guys to watch for.
Yeah, definitely good information. Like you said, I think these teams are really evenly matched in a lot of ways across the board, both sides of the ball. I think it's going to be a very interesting game. I think it's going to be a physical game. I still think there could be a lot of points. I think both of our offenses can move the ball and just have so many weapons, and whether it's on the ground or tight ends, running backs, wide receivers. I just think it's going to be a really interesting and fun game. That somebody has to lose, and it could come down to just whoever has the ball last. I think it's going to be real fun to watch from a fan perspective. Obviously, we're going to be pretty dialed in. All 3 of us, but. Let's talk about the game itself. As we're recording Saturday night, obviously the betting lines haven't come out. I would suspect that Sam Houston is going to be the favorite, anywhere from a 2.5 to, maybe 5-point favorite by betting odds. You're also at home. You're coming off a bye. You have 13 days of rest to, just get your bodies right, prepare, watch more film, and just be ready schematically. So what are some of the keys to victory? We usually try to point out 3 of those that you think that Sam Houston has to do to win this game versus Western Kentucky.
Yeah, I actually saw 1 or 2 just kind of random books come out with a line this morning. I saw Sam Houston at -1.5, so not too far off of what you were saying, and it's about what I thought it would be. But I think one of the keys, Hunter Watson's got to play clean. He has a lot of big play potential, can do a lot with his legs, but he has been turnover prone at times. And when this team has struggled, he has really struggled with his turnovers. I think it's especially pushing the ball down the field. He's had 5 interceptions all on passes down the field. So got to play clean at the quarterback position is one of them. I think you've got to start fast too. You got to win the scripted drive there at the beginning, especially coming off this bye week. When we played Texas State and UTEP the past couple of weeks, they've been coming off of buys, and we've struggled some there at the beginning, and I think part of that's because they've scripted up those first couple drives. So I think we got to be able to win that coming off the break. And then I think special teams, we've got to play clean there. One area we've kind of struggled in is kickoff coverage, and a lot of kicks out of bounds. Our kicker is also our place kicker is also our kickoff specialist, and so it feels like every time he hits a big field goal, it goes out of bounds, and the very next kick that he's got. So that's something to watch out for. I've given up a couple big plays on special teams, and so like you said, I think it's a pretty evenly matched contest, and that's going to be one of the things that comes down to maybe is special teams play. So got to stay clean, especially with Hunter Watson. Got to start fast, and then special teams play, got to stay clean there also.
Yeah, definitely. I can see this game being really close, but I want to get your opinion. What do you think the score prediction will be after the game on Wednesday?
Yeah, this is a game where I think if it's flipped and Western's coming off the bye and we're coming off a short week, I'm picking Western. But since it's flipped and Sam Houston's at home, I think it's going to be a marginal victory for Sam Houston. I think it's going to be a 31-28 kind of game, maybe who has the ball last or kind of thing. It's going to be tight no matter which way it goes. And I think it is going to be somewhat high scoring too. The Sam Houston defense against the inferior G5 teams is really beat up on their offenses, but Texas State and UCF have shown they can move the ball a little bit. So I don't expect us to limit Western to 7, 10, 13 points kind of thing. I think it's going to be a 28-31 kind of game. So yeah, I'm going to say Sam Houston 31-28.
Yeah, I definitely, like you said, I agree with you. I think it very well, it may come down to whoever has the ball last. And, I alluded to that. You just alluded to that. I think it's going to be just one of those instant classics. We already know it's a game that's going to have implications to potentially, who makes it to the championship game for Conference USA. Of the top four right now, this is the first big game between us. After this point, you're going to control your destiny. You're going to have a tiebreaker with someone if it comes down to that. So big game. We get out of the way early on Wednesday, then we can watch everybody else play Wednesday, Thursday, and the weekend games, obviously. But Ben, before we get out of here, you touched on this at the very beginning, but we do appreciate you coming on. But real quick again, plug your social medias where people can find your podcast and your various accounts that you are over, and I guess try to follow you and keep up with Sam Houston sports on a broader basis.
Yeah, so sports of SHSU, I think it's on the screen here if you're watching on video. So we've got that on X/Twitter and Instagram. We've also got March #2, the pod, on Instagram and Twitter as well. Corey, my co-host, he kind of runs our socials on there. But you'll see our weekly episodes and some of the short form content we've got. Also follow Cat Fund, our NIL collective that we've got going on. A big week going on there. So I'll be at the Western Kentucky game Wednesday night. Then we're running our golf tournament and auction Friday for our men's basketball team. So lots of good stuff going on that you can follow, Sam Houston related. We'd love to have you on one of our pages.
Awesome, man. Ben, we appreciate you again coming on and joining us, and best of luck this coming Wednesday.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right. See you, bud. All right, really awesome interview with Ben from the March to the Pod podcast. Really does a good job over there covering Sam Houston. If you're not already following him and their accounts on Twitter, definitely give them a follow. They put out good content. They join us on the Conference USA Roundtable to talk about our teams. We did a lot of previewing before the season began, and now every other week we're doing our pick 'em, our breakdowns of the week by week matchups. So this next one though, it's going to be tough, and I think everything we just outlined in that interview and the way our teams match up, this could just be one of those games where like we said multiple times now, it could really come down to who has the ball last, who plays a cleaner game, who doesn't turn the ball over, penalties, all those kind of football 101, those cliche things of what you have to do and things we've talked about all season in every game. You've got to not turn the ball over. You've got to value the football. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Don't put yourself behind the 8 ball in down and distance situations. and score more points. Be the last team with the ball. That definitely helps if you can get into victory formation and control the ball game. So I'm looking forward to it. Ben, really appreciate you for jumping in and shedding more light to our listeners about what to expect and who to look out for on that Sam Houston team. But Tyler, let's jump into what WKU needs to do to get this victory. Possibly coming in, on the road as the underdog, going just against a tough opponent. So let's jump into our keys to victory. What's your first key to victory for Western to go in there and get that victory?
I'm gonna say contain the rushing attack because like we both said, Hunter, he's a dual threat. He has 84 carries for 370 yards. He has what was that? I mean, the dude's good. His passing yards is 859 passing yards, 370 rushing yards. He's had 7 passing TDs, 5 interceptions, like Ben said, but he's also rushed for 4 touchdowns on the season. So, if he's kind of like Caden, if he sees some open ground, he's going to go for it. Or he could, everything could be covered, and he's got to go for it himself. But we definitely got to contain him the best we can.
I think one of our number one key to victory has to be capitalizing on turnovers. I think one thing we heard Ben mention is that, of the turnovers that Hunter Watson has had, I think he has 5 interceptions on the season. He's fumbled the ball a couple times, so he can be turnover prone. And I like that our defensive front is likely going to get a lot of pressure on him, going to move him off his spot. We've got to contain him and not, just give him free range outside the edge to run and extend plays, but push him off his spot, make him make tough throws down the field, not from a clean pocket. And I think if we can do that, that's where our secondary can really capitalize and just put themselves in position to make big plays and get our offense the ball back. So I think we need to kind of win that turnover margin, whether it be by interception, whether it be by causing fumbles, whatever it is. I think our defense needs to be aggressive in that area. And I think this is kind of the perfect game to do that with a quarterback that can hurt you with his legs, but we can't let him sit back there and beat us with his arm either. So I think our defense has to continue to be aggressive up front and then let the back end take care of it when he takes those shots down the field that we know he can be susceptible of turning the ball over. So definitely win that turnover margin. What's your second key to victory versus Sam Houston?
I'm going to go with keep it all. Yeah, sorry, I got to keep hitting that because that's a cough button. Keep it all balanced with the passing and rushing game, man. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, it keeps the defense guessing on what you're going to do. They can't just always zero in on your receivers or your tight ends and make you throw a risky pass. If they have the slightest thought that, hey, Elijah Young back there, George Hart back there, LT Sanders back there, heck, Caden's back there, and Caden can run with it. It's always going to keep 1-2 of their dudes busy, and if not more. So definitely like to keep the defense on their toes with the rushing and the passing attack.
Yeah, my second key to victory is right there with you. I'm not going to phrase it the same way. I don't think we have to necessarily be balanced, but I think we need to keep our foot on the gas. And I think we've seen us take our foot off it at times. I think we did that versus Boston College. I think we did that, to open the second half versus UTEP. I look back at a game like the game plan and the play calling we had against MTSU, and we were just aggressive that whole entire game. We could have put up another touchdown or 2 if we wanted. And while we didn't, I don't know, we should have embarrassed them and blown them out because, like you say, they're trash. They're garbage. That's what we should do every time we play middle in anything. So I think we just need to be aggressive on the offensive side of the ball. I don't necessarily think this is going to be a shootout as far as like a 40-40 type game. Both of us scoring in the 40s, pushing 50s. But I definitely think it could be a high scoring ball game where every point is going to be valuable, whether that's, getting 3 whenever 3 is available to you, not, risking it on 4th down, which we talked about it in the UTEP recap. We lead the nation in it. We've been good at it, but sometimes we just need to kick the field goal. And in hindsight, we didn't kick a field goal versus Boston College. We lost by 1. Not saying if we had kicked it, we had won that ball game. Obviously, game flow would have changed. But points could be at a premium. It could be a 1 possession, whoever has the ball last type of game where all the points you can score is going to help you win this ball game. So we need to keep our foot on the gas. The tempo offense, the spreading the ball around, just letting the playmakers go make plays. We've seen that week in and week out. We've seen different guys do it. We saw Easton Messer and Mike Matheson do it. We've seen River Helms do it. We've seen Keyshawn do it. Dalvin do it. Katie Hutchison, Musa Berry. Not sure where he's been the last couple weeks, but we have so many playmakers. Elijah Young, George Hart. We just have too many playmakers off there to just take the air out of the ball and try to coast to a victory if we have a lead in the second half. I don't think that's who we are. I don't think that's who we need to be. I think we need to stay aggressive, be aggressive, put our foot down. If we can go out there and score 40, go out there and score 50, that's what we need to do. We need to keep slinging the ball, because when we do that, we're really good at it. And we have been efficient at it. And if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I think our offense is really solid. Caden's growing and getting better every game. So just keep that foot on the gas and go win this ball game. Tyler, what's your third key to victory?
I was looking at the box score or the stats for Sam Houston, and Hunter Watson, he has 14 sacks on season. So kind of echoing what you said earlier, get pressure on him. Rice had 7 of them sacks. I think UCF only had 1 that I saw, and I think the next highest was like 3, I believe. Surely our defensive line and linebackers are better than Rice's. So if we can get back there and make him have a little happy feet, or have him feel pressure coming up behind him, or just make him uncomfortable in a dirty pocket, I think that's only going to play to our advantage. So definitely got to get back there and put pressure on him.
Yeah, my third key to victory is going to be, it's cliche, and it's win the third down battle. Get off the field when you're on defense, and when we're on offense, obviously keep drives going, go down the field and score points. But that starts with winning first and second down. I think we have to keep Sam Houston, and where they're not gashing us, getting 5, 6, 7 yards every time on first down, to where they're in second and short, third and short, where the playbook really changes a lot, where you have a lot of options in front of you. We want to keep them in second long and third and long, where we know they're in passing downs, so our defensive front can be aggressive, and then our back, the back end of the defense, know that ball is going to know that ball's coming out quick and can make plays on the ball and potentially get turnovers. So I think that all starts with our limiting their success on first and second down, and allowing that defensive front to just continue to be aggressive, apply pressure, and then just let the guys in the back end. We've seen several guys now have interceptions and make big plays, and just do what we need to do to win this ball game. I think our secondary and our defense has been top notch this year, and I think that if Hunter Watson has a weakness, it can be decision making, because he is dynamic. He can make plays with his legs. He can get loose. He can extend plays and drives. But he can also, if you put pressure on him, get him off his spot and put him in a position where he has to get rid of the ball. If it is third and long, he has to try to create a play. We can force him into errors that benefit us. So I think we need to continue to do that, put ourselves in that position by winning first and second down, and get them into third and long, down and distance situations. Tyler, who's going to be your MVP to get this win versus Sam Houston?
It could be Upton Stout with him being nickelback. I feel like we could use someone to set a spy as on Hunter, but I'm just going to go back with Caden Bellcamp, the one who touches the ball every play, and kind of sets everything up. And if he's successful, I feel like the team's going to be successful. So I'm going to go Caden.
Yeah, I'm tempted. I'm tempted to remix that and say I want to go with the whole defense. I think the whole defensive effort from the line getting pressure to the linebackers spying and stopping those quarterback runs and running backs to the back end, um, you know, deflecting passes and hopefully getting interceptions. But I'm right there with you. I think it's got to be Caden Veltkamp. I think our offense has to click. I think we have to continue to be efficient. 30 points, in my opinion, is the bare minimum to win this game. I think we're going to have to be above 30 points when we get into our score prediction. I think that'll be pretty obvious. But, we need to go out and just score points. And that starts with Caden Veltkamp being efficient, limiting turnovers, and just spreading that ball around. We have too many playmakers, and he's shown himself to be too smart and too good of a quarterback. At this point, he's now has several starts under his belt. This is another road test for him. So I think Caden has to be the man. And a lot of the success of this season and the second half of the season is going to rest on his shoulders and how far he can take us. So give me Caden Velkamp. What about your score prediction? Are you keeping with the preseason score prediction, or are you going to change it up? What you got for the score prediction this game?
Do you have my preseason there? I think it was like 35 to, was it 24?
Yep, that's it.
I thought that was it. I'm going to go 38-28 Tops win. I'm just going to remix it a little bit, but I feel like a good 10-point victory. I'm going to, whatever WKU is, I'm going to probably pick them to cover the spread. I'm not a betting professional, so do not take what I say as a idea. Pick your own bets. I just feel like that should be put out there for legal. But I feel like that's a good bet for me.
I'm pretty close to you. My preseason score prediction was 34-17, but that was obviously preseason before we saw a 5-1 start, before we saw how good they have kind of turned the corner versus what they were last year. Lost a lot of close games. This year they've turned into a team that's winning a lot of those games convincingly. Likely coming into this game as the underdog. Haven't seen that spread officially yet. Usually we post that on Sunday mornings when Circus Sports does. Post that on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. But I still like WKU. I just, I think this is a game that will be tough. It's going to be a hard battle, but I think we can win this game. And I'm close to your score, but I got us winning 34-24. So give me a 10-point victory, just like you got, but just a little bit shorter on the score. I think it's going to be a great game. Could come down to some turnovers, some, last possession, to put the game away potentially. Real excited for this game, though. I think it's going to be a tough one and going to set us up for what could be just a really good and successful second half of this season now, as we've coming off a bye week and now going into the rest of these midweek games. Really looking forward to it. It's going to be a tough matchup. Like you said, it's going to be kind of a litmus test to see where we are. We know that the top of Conference USA is just kind of jumbled up with these four teams that it just feels like you could just shake them up in a jar and let's see who's going to come out on top. We've seen Liberty look beatable multiple times this season, has had to eke out some victories, had to beat FIU this past week in overtime, which nobody saw that coming. They've struggled in several games. We've seen Jacksonville State turn it around. They started out 0-3 and now they're 3-3. So they've kind of turned their season around. They've righted the ship a little bit. Sam Houston, we've just talked about them. They're 5-1. They're clicking with a new quarterback leading the offense this season. And I think, WKU has been solid and consistent all season, even with the quarterback change, going from TJ to Caden due to injury. I don't feel like we've missed a step. We've just kept going. And I think that's a testament to this team, this program, the depth of all of our positions, offense and defense. I think, Tyson Helton and company have done a great job of keeping us competitive every year in and year out in Conference USA. And at this point, we control our destiny in conference play. So let's go win a ball game. It's going to be a tough one, but I'm looking forward to obviously watching it Wednesday night Hopefully having another, successful spaces after the game, talking about this big victory, and then looking forward to the week after. These midweeks, it just seems like a weird turnaround. It's the same amount of rest, typically, but it's just weird playing midweeks. I like being one of the only games on, but it just feels weird turning around looking at Wednesday to Wednesday or Thursday to Thursday. But it's nice Saturday just getting to sit back and watch games like we have all day today and not worry about our team playing. We've already won our game. We're good. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be one that is, important to how the standings and the rankings and who's going to play and potentially host the Conference USA Championship game. And why not us? We can definitely go win this ball game, but it's going to be tough, and we have to do, all the little things that we've talked about. We have to clean those things up if we want to beat, the best of the best in this conference. And I think there's a lot of parity these top 3 or 4 teams. So I'm excited for it. Let's go do it. Why not us? Go Tops. Tyler, hit us with your final words and then take us on out of here.
All right. Yeah, you're right. I hopefully we clean up the penalties. I know last game we didn't have that many, but we still had more than UTEP, who for some reason only had 2. I would like to see the defense continue to play great, like you said. I mean, they've been playing lights out all season. Offense, just keep rolling. Please keep doing it, Caden. Please slide from time to time. We need to protect you, son. I mean, this is going to be a good game. Sam Houston last year was the only newcomer that we beat in Conference USA. I would like to see that streak continue this year. And I seriously think I think we will win. I haven't seen anything that would make me think otherwise. And it is crazy that Liberty had to go into OT with FIU. If you had told me that was going to happen, I would have said you was crazy. I'd like to shout out something that I heard years ago on the Moonshine Throwdown podcast. KD, shout out KD. He said, "Win the hidden 10 minutes." And I don't know why this stuck with me, but it did. And I was actually thinking about putting that as one of my keys. Win the hidden 10 minutes. The last 5 minutes of first half, first 5 minutes of the second half. You can kind of tell how a game's going to go by that 10 minutes, and hopefully we played great in them in that 10 minutes, because I feel like we coming out second half. I feel like we had been having kind of a slow start, not really necessarily slow start. I feel like the other team always kind of scores, always has a good first couple drives. And I was hoping this next game, I hope our defense is able to stand firm and keep Sam Houston down. But moving on to something else, I'm not going to ramble very long, but it did hit me. My boy's like, he will be 9 weeks this Tuesday, and it's crazy how fast they grow. You always hear about it, right? Hold on to the moments because they come quick and they don't last. But dude, he's starting to talk a little bit. Well, he's not speaking, but he's making them noises, cooing and all that. It's adorable. I just like to say to my 2 friends that are pregnant right now, Jepson and Matt B, y'all's time's coming up. Enjoy the little things, because they go by quick, and he's growing like a weed. It's awesome. It's fun. Sometimes scary, but it's awesome, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Legit, it's awesome. But with that, I'll say, Hoff, who has a better than this, bro?
Nobody, buddy. You know it.
Go Tops, y'all.
Go Tops. Later, guys.
See you.